This is fantastic. Dom Famularo here. You know, I love a challenge. And there are many challenges that happen in life. And believe me, they happen often to me in the course of my life. But I'm so honored to be able to have this opportunity. Sam Aliano is with me. He's in Australia. I'm actually in my village center in my town. My internet went down just moments ago. So trying to find a place to do this here. But I found a place. The internet works here. I'm in an office of our mayor right now. So I took over her office. But I would not have missed this. Please welcome Sam Aliano.
Dom, thanks for having me, mate.
Sam, what the hell time is it now in Australia?
It's 6 a.m, Friday morning.
So Friday morning, 6 a.m. So when I started texting you about some of the challenges, it was a little before 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So you got up early in the morning to have this time. I thank you so much for your time, and thanks for putting up with all this here.
Mate, I wouldn't miss this for the world anytime.
You know, I've got to go back, Sam, a few years ago, with Frank Corniola putting on the Australian Ultimate Drummer Weekend, when we played together at that show. And it's a 2-day show that Frank puts on, which is absolutely amazing. Thousands of people that were there. And I sat in the audience and watched your part of the show. And I got to tell you something. I had not heard you before then. I had heard of you. You completely blew me away. I mean, just your power of your groove, how deep your groove was, and then on top of this incredible, intense, heavy groove, you had chops that were coming out the freaking window. It was incredible to see. So I think back at that, and it's great. And there's actually video footage of that Frank has with the Australian Ultimate Drummer meeting going back to, I believe it was 2002.
2002, but the first one we did together was 98. My first performance was 98.
Wow.
I've done 3 of them. But I know the one you're talking about. But the first time I saw you play actually was 96, the Ultimate Drums Day of 96. I never forget. Because at that time I was working at Drum Tech as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And Frank just asked, he goes, "Hey, do you want to work the weekend?" And I said, "What do I have to do?" And he goes, "You got to look after a guy called Dom Famularo." And I said the same thing. "Who's that?"
Who the hell is that?
And he goes, "Look, just be his tech for the whole weekend." I said, "No problem." And I never forget that I met you and things were great. You spoke with high energy, you know, everything. What you've been doing for the last 30, 40 years, right? Which was great. You know, we were all ready and waiting to hear you play after your beautiful speech. But when you played, it's like, oh man, this guy's incredible. Like, where did he come from? It was amazing. And then I'll never forget, after your performance, when I got to know you a little bit better, when I was comfortable, I said, "I'm coming to America and I want to meet up with you." And you told me where you live. You said you live in Long Island. And I had no idea where that was. At the time, and I said, "Well, listen, I have an auntie who lives in New Jersey. Is that anywhere next to you?" And you said, "Well, it's close enough." It was only a couple hours drive, and then our relationship just took off from there. But I think the impact that you have and have had, I mean, not only around the world, but the Australian community is huge, mate. It's big. It's big. You're an inspiration to a lot of not just drummers, but musicians in many different ways. And just seeing you play was incredible. And you had a suit on. How do you do that stuff with a suit, a tie, and shoes? You don't play some double bass like that. It's incredible.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. You know, I always love going to Australia. It's like literally my second home. Everyone that is there is fantastic. The drumming community is so close knit. Frank Corniola and his wonderful wife Rosanna, they are relatives to me. Rosanna is a relative to me, and so Frank kind of married in the family. So it's really kind of a wonderful bond of what we have. But Australia is it's so incredible because there are so many great players that are there. You know, yourself, Virgil Donati, David Jones, Gordon Rittmeister. I mean, there's so many great players. I mean, just totally brilliant minds of drumming that I don't know if it must be something in the water there.
I don't know. It's amazing. And as you know, I'm sure we'll get stuck into this in the interview, but I was away for so long. living in America for the past 18 years, but coming back and just seeing with these guys just continuing getting better. Like, it's amazing. Like, there's even Jerry Pantazis, there's Darren Ferrugia, as you know. I mean, there's a whole list.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all, damn, they're scary players, mate.
Andrew Gander is another one that,
he's a freak, that guy.
And these are names. We've got several people that are logging on right now from literally all around the world, from Russia, from throughout the U.S., from Europe. It's kind of amazing to have this kind of a reach that you have, Sam, and what it is. And I want them to understand that these names that we're mentioning, the David Jones, the Andrew Ganders, of course, Virgil Donati, Gordon Rittmeister, Darren Ferrugia.
Pete Drummond. Pete's amazing too.
Unbelievable when you think of all these great drummers that come from this. So let's go back for a second. Let's go back for when you were younger. What got you involved with drumming?
I had a family band growing up. So, cut a long story short, I got 3 older siblings. They all played an instrument. So when I was 5, they needed a drummer. So we had a singer in the family, a panaccordion player in the family, a guitar player. So I tried guitar, I think it was half a day. I got little fat fingers. It did not work, and it still doesn't work. So I love the drums, from day one. Always banging on pots and pans, the whole lot. And then my father bought me a drum kit. When I was 5, I joined the family band. I learned a couple of beats. And being from Italian heritage, we went out and did all the Italian weddings and dances. And I did that up until I was, 20 years old, or if not more. So that's what got me started.
It's amazing for people to understand when you have a family like that, especially in an Italian family, as I grew up in. There's music all around. Every day there's music. On the weekends when relatives come by, there's music. So that's a very, very powerful influence.
Yeah. There was never a day that there wasn't music, and I'll never forget my father. I mean, at that time, so that there was 4 of us, and we all had individual private lessons. And there was a stage where he was a hard worker, he was a builder. So he would go home, literally have a shower, not eat, and then just start bringing everyone to lessons. And bear in mind, we were too young to drive. So then we were too young to even carry our instruments. So he would lug everything, set them up for us, do the gig, unset them, and we would be tired. I never forget, there was a New Year's Eve dance party that we did, and it was probably, I was 6 or 7, and I was falling asleep playing. And I wouldn't believe the story if it wasn't me. But I was playing, and literally my dad was beside me, like poking a drumstick at me, trying to keep me awake. But they're great memories. I learned so much.
I mean, this is where experience comes from, where we have the opportunity to play and perform. So at a young age, was there anyone that you were listening to, particularly in the drumming world or in the music world?
At that time, it was just what my dad was listening to. So it was a lot of Italian artists. But through there, I met one of my favorite drummers, who I'm sure you know, Tullio De Piscopo.
Oh,
so Tullio was obviously from Pino Daniele's band, who back in the day, if you had to compare him to someone, it was like an Italian George Benson, amazing guitar player. So, I mean, you can't go wrong when you listen to a drummer like that. So it was more that type of thing. And then the older I got, then I started listening to, anything from rock music to the fusion, days of even the local David Jones, his fusion band that he had here or whatever. So it just, but I always played along to records, always had the radio on and tried to play along. So it was anything really in the beginning.
What a difference. It was a big difference years ago. On the radio, they played such a wide variety of music. And if you played along to music on the radio, there really was a lot that you could learn from just the experience of that influence of what was coming at us that way.
Well, in the beginning, it was all that for me. I mean, I've always had lessons, even when I was a kid, right? I've always had drum lessons, but I remember the majority of my practice for years was just turning on the radio and just play. It was a different type of fun to do that,
It kind of interesting. So were there specific? I mean, at that time, were you taking lessons at all? Was that was that?
I took lessons straight away. When I was 5 years old, I started taking lessons, and in a way, I haven't really stopped. Right, as you preach, we're a student for life, and I agree with that. Now, back in the day, I had some unbelievable teachers and some so not great teachers, but my parents didn't know any better. You know, so they sent me to the Italian fella down the street who played a bit of drums. But even if they weren't so great, I learned something from everyone. So the teacher that wasn't so great taught me how to read. So you know, there's some good in there. And then when I was about 7 or 8, I started taking formal lessons at a music school called Marciano Music School. And that teacher, he kind of expanded my vocabulary a little bit, and we got a little bit deeper into reading, into genres of music, because I was playing all these different genres in the dance band I was in.
Yeah.
I really had no idea kind of what I was doing, or there was no breakdown, but it felt good. And then the older I got, probably when I turned 16 and 17, I always knew I wanted to do this, but when I turned that age, I said, that's it. This is what I want to do. And then at that time, until this day, Frank Corniolo is a great drummer and teacher. He just doesn't own an unbelievable school, but that guy can play and can teach. So I heard of him, and I never forget, I called him up and I said, can I have some lessons? And I thought he was going to say, sure, come next week. I waited 2 years on his waiting list. 2 years. I was on a waiting list. and I just didn't want to stay still. So I went off. Do you know Serge Carnival?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Serge wrote the ABC of drumming. Another great drummer who was Frank's student and was one of Frank's good students back then, or whatever you want to call it. And so I said, you know what, I might go to Serge so he can prep me for Frank. But that was the turning point for me from an education.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting when you talk about Frank Corniolo. This is a guy that, and he was musical director. Who was the singer that he was musical director with?
John St. Peters, his name was.
John St. Peters, a phenomenal vocalist, and they were huge. He was his drummer and musical director and organizing and touring.
Yeah, for a long time.
So Frank did that for many years. Then Frank, got involved in opening up Drum Tech.
Yeah.
And then from Drum Tech, he opened up the school that would happen. So he had a retail outlet and the school.
Yes.
Then he started putting together the Australian Ultimate Drummer Weekend 25 plus years ago.
Yep.
Then he started the magazine, Drum Scene Magazine.
Yep.
And then he had a distribution company where he was distributing products going on.
Yep.
Then he had a touring business, booking bands. He's booked Gad and Kaliuta and Weckl there several times.
Yep.
And Virgil and people, which is incredible. So Frank is an absolute beast in the drumming community of what has helped Australia to have, I think, this level of high education of going on. His 2 books that he wrote, Rhythm Section Drumming and Rudiments in Motion, are phenomenal products.
They're unbelievable books. And, Darren, myself, John Corniola, I can name some more, Justin Humphries. We're all first-hand experience of his teaching methods. We all came from him.
Yeah.
So, and his books, I remember when I went to Frank, rhythm section drumming was already done, right?
Yeah.
But I remember seeing handouts back in the day. Frank used to endorse Sona drums, and Sona made him do some clinics around the country. And I never forget his handout. And his handout was already pieces of RSD, of rhythm section drumming, that he had done years before, he released it. So, and as you know, when you write books, it doesn't matter how long the process is. At some stage, you would test what you're writing on your students and make sure it works and, fine tune it the whole lot. But that he has been doing that for years. And then what that did was exactly what you said, is set a standard. But not only that, I think one of the most important ones that a lot of people don't know of, because of him, I believe, we now have a drum syllabus that's recognised in Australia, where you can go to school and actually qualify or get a degree in drums. That we didn't have that before. He wrote it.
Yeah.
So like the AMEB exams and stuff like that. So he's an amazing educator too.
Well, I think what happened is that, you know, Frank started this wave, and then came this second tier of soldiers.
Yeah.
And what I'm amazed with yourself is Sam, not only, I mean, you play great. Musically, you really play great. And you can play all styles. So that's a whole nother world of playing great in all styles.
Yeah.
And then as far as your chops are always fine-tuned, and your reading skills are at a high level, and your education and teaching skills are at a high level. So this is the standard that, however this happened, you encompassed this and took this, and now you're running with it.
Yeah, you know, I love the drums. I get up every day, and it's like, you know, you're blessed that you wake up. You're blessed that you can come into a beautiful studio and do what you got to do, right? Yeah. I have nothing stopping me, all right? Nothing at all. But then I'm blessed to have good people around me.
Yeah.
So, and idols that became friends, close friends, yourself included. You know, Virgil, Joe Bergamini, you know, Weckl. They later on became friends. And I think what happens is when you, and subconsciously maybe, right? When I like, even with our relationship, I know you at a deeper level that it's not that the drumming became secondary, but instead of trying to win your approval, like, Dom, what do you think? Dom, what do you think? What do you think of that? It became more, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, but once you accepted me, things just got better for me, clearer.
Yeah.
I started working harder, and then I really got what you're doing and where you're coming from, and then what I wanted to do or what I want to be, you know. And I guess you take elements from that. It's kind of like I would if I didn't, you know you, I would only see you as what I see on stage, but then seeing you behind the scenes helps me become more professional, because to see how you handle yourself, really important. I remember, I don't know if you said this at a clinic or if it was at a performance or something. I remember you saying you had to catch a flight from somewhere, which you do a lot of. So you're on your way to a gig, and you had two choices: sleep on the plane or respond to hundreds of emails. Guess what you did? You responded to hundreds of emails. So that motto stuck with me, and I'll try and do it. I'm not as good as you, but you learn. You keep learning, you know.
That's part of the skill, but I think what you do well is you've done that, Sam, and what you've done in the industry is you've earned the respect of the industry. That's something which I think is very, very powerful, that because of how you carry yourself as a professional and how you show up on time, you're always prepared. Even just working with you with your drum book, I mean, everything was laid out, the videos, everything was just so organized, and that's the standard that really makes things happen.
But yeah, you're right, and thank you. But it's clear to me what the standard is. You know what I'm saying? I see it. I can see it with you. I can see it with my good friends. I can see it with Joe. I can see what Virgil does, you know, with his practice and whatever it is that he gets ready for. You know, there's always prep involved. You know, I strongly believe you can't do, whether it's an interview like this or a gig or a session or whatever, and not be prepared. I don't.
Yeah. It's so important. But you know, you talk about standards. You know, Virgil, from Melbourne, which is I think where you were originally from. Are you still in Melbourne?
Yes, I'm in Melbourne. Yeah.
That area there, not only is there great, food and great people, there's great wine in Melbourne also into the area. And Virgil, just the level of players that come out of there. I tell people when I travel around the world, everyone says, hey, Virgil's from Australia. And I say, no, I'm sorry. I've said this in front of audiences, it's 500 to 1,000 people. Just so you know, Virgil's not from Australia. And then people kind of get angry at me. What do you mean? I know Virgil's from Melbourne, Australia. I said, no, he's not from Melbourne, Australia. I know Virgil. He's not from Melbourne. He's not from Australia. And I start arguing with the audience, and I'm getting the audience angry now.
Yeah, that's good.
And they said, well, where's he from? I said, now that you're asking where he's from, he's not from Melbourne. Virgil is from a planet called Krypton. And when this planet was about to explode, his parents put him in a freaking rocket. He landed in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
Big difference in that, So
that is awesome.
It's so amazing the amount of great players. And even Joe Bergamini has said that too in his comments here. So many great players that are here in the process. So I got to ask you, what is it about Australia that, is it the music scene? Is it about the fact that maybe you're further removed from the world where you're down under?
I'll answer that question for me, what it was for me, I think.
Yeah.
Being so far away.
Mm.
I think being so far away. The music scene speaks for itself. We had a healthy music scene, no problem, like 25 plus years ago.
Yeah.
But what happened was there used to be a stage where you can go to any pub and you see a great band. Mm. Unfortunately, years ago, the pokey machines or the slot machines started making an impact on revenue, and then the pubs started to get them in, and then what happened was a band became a duo, and then from a duo it went to, no, we don't want no music at all because revenue was coming from the machine. So that in a way killed some of the live scene, and I can vouch for that. But having said that, on the flip side, from a drumming point of view and trying to aspire to be the best we can be, I think it had to be the fact that the only time we could see a person like you play was if we bought a DVD or if we bought a book or if Frank Uniola brought you here. There was no other way. There was no other way. Of course, it's evolved to what it is now with the internet, which is great, but we didn't have that. So the fact that you were so far away, and then when we get to meet you guys, it's like, hang on, they're half human. This is nice. This is great. Yeah. And then on a personal level, our talk that we had in 90s, our first talk that we had in 96, and then in 2000, it ended up being a much more serious talk. And the motivation you had, and then it's like, no, I can do this. Yeah, I can do this, and then that's why I went overseas and had the time of my life for 18 years.
And I want to get to that because it takes a certain level of real courage to leave your country and make a move to a different country and pursue a career and get involved with it. So you've got your family there.
Yeah.
Then you decide to make the move, and you're playing with your band. You're doing. I mean, you're working in Australia. You're busy performing and doing your thing, and you're looking for that change. Now you make the move to LA.
Yeah.
What was that like in just that initial move?
It was amazing. It was exciting. I wasn't nervous or even scared because if I failed or if I felt like I failed, I still would have returned home to a working career.
Yeah.
But I always said to myself, no, I'm going to give it a good go. I just got married. So I just got married. My wife, Nancy, who you know well, had never been to America. So I told her, I said, oh, by the way, we're going to move to America this year. I've never even been there. Anyway, she was supportive. We get on the plane and go 1 year into our marriage. And I did have a gig lined up in Vegas. And you wouldn't believe it, the day I landed was the day I got told that there was no gig.
Oh, my Lord.
So I went there with no work. So completely from dry. Virgil helped me a lot on a personal level, where when Virgil had done the same type of move, he stayed with a beautiful Jewish family in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And so he set me up that I stayed there as well. And I ended up staying there with my wife, Nancy, for 1 year, and it was great. But one of the biggest turning points, again, was Joe Hibbs. God bless Joe Hibbs. Mm-hmm. Because at that time I was endorsed by Premier Drums.
Yeah.
And we all know the fallout that happened, you know.
Yeah.
But then Joe went to Mapex, and then with Mapex drums, he offered me an endorsement, and with that came a job. And you're probably thinking, well, what job? Well, there was a place in Sherman Oaks called the Drum Connection, right across the road from the Guitar Center, and I had met Joe Hibbs there. The same day he offered me an endorsement, the owner from the drum school offered me a teaching gig. That's how I got started and settled.
Incredible. So now you start teaching, you start coming in, you've got to get yourself settled. You've got to, when did you finally, feel that you were starting to get a feel for LA and California?
Well, I had been flying back and forth since '96. So I did go like 5 years. I was going back and forth. I got a little bit of a feel, but it really hit me probably a year into it, right? Because we're talking now 2002. And then I just got local gigs. I joined bands, get the LA Weekly, see who was looking for a drummer back then. And I did the whole Sunset Strip, but I loved it because I already had started to miss that type of work here because it was already getting lost because of the revenue and the slot machines. Yeah. So going and playing the Whiskey and the Roxy and all that, I didn't know how big these places were and how much history they have. For me, it was another gig, and I was getting paid and meeting people and networking, so it was fantastic. But then I did I believe it was the Batuka Drum Festival with yourself in 2003
with Vera Figueredo. Yeah,
Vera and Jim Chapman. It was unbelievable. That's probably my biggest and best musical drumming experience to date, without a doubt, for so many reasons. Yeah. And that was fantastic. So then as far as drums and all that started going, I'm like, okay, this is good. This is kind of what I want to do. Maybe do a bit more, clinics and stuff like that. I had started doing some local ones around California for Mapex drums, and Sabian have from day one always been supportive. Yeah. But before we finish, I do want to tell you about how I got my Sabian gig.
Yeah, I want to ask that. You will ask that.
It still involves you and Joe, right? I'll ask that, and then the year after, I did the Montreal Drum Festival in 2004, and it was fantastic. Then I got a gig with a band called Gongzilla. Gongzilla, if you don't know who they are, they were called Gong, Pierre Molin's Gong. So it was Alan Holsworth's first fusion band with On Lazaga, Hansford Rowe on bass. And part of that band was Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells band. Once I started touring around America with that band, then I'm like, okay, I'm up and running. And then for the next 15 years, it was a lot of that with various different artists, recording, studio. I'll never forget, I did a session at Capitol Records, and the first day was fantastic. I rocked there. I rocked up, set up my drums, had my ID, no problem. Here I am. The next day, it's in lockdown. I'm like, what the hell? And security everywhere. And I didn't know if it was open or not, but Sir Paul McCartney was there with Abe, and they were just recording strings. They were demoing strings for a whole week, and it was fantastic. So we got to meet, Paul McCartney. There's so many of those stories, and you just pinch yourself. And at the end of the day, the reason why I left, because I want to get this point across, was I realized I'm at a stage now where I want to work in Korea. Yeah, I want to work in Korea, in America and the rest of the world, but I wanted to set up home base here, which I've done. And you know what? 18 years later, I came back with a family. I came back with 3 boys and still happily married. So the experience is amazing. It will never be taken for granted. It won't be taken away from me, and it's amazing. Just amazing.
I think what's incredible, Sam, is first of all, you found in Nancy, a fantastic person that is supportive, and not only in support of your career and making the move, just uplifting from Australia and going to the USA, but
Yeah.
she delivered you three beautiful boys that is just incredible to have this depth of family and the balance of our artistic development and our business development and then our personal development is an important balance to keep shifting those around. How we keep our playing to a high level, how we're able to make money from what we're doing, and how we're able to have this incredible family. And you balance that really well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything that you're saying. Look, we've been lucky. There hasn't been too many challenges for us on that personal level, but the growth is enormous.
Yeah,
but then again, it's you see and you learn. We met so many really good personal friends in America that don't play music at all.
Yeah,
but were really a big part, of our lives.
Yeah,
and I mean, I was going to say, how this is, but you don't, because you've got friends everywhere. when you move to a country and your friends are your peers, it's a little different.
Yeah,
sometimes it's a little different, and we were blessed. And I don't know if you remember, but you remember how good, again, going back to 2003 was in Brazil. I never forget, Jim didn't leave Nancy alone. I don't blame him for two reasons, right? But how Jim, firsthand, he's always talking about his grip and stuff like that. As soon as he found out that Nancy played tennis, and he would talk about the way he held a stick, and maybe possibly one of his molar strokes was based on a position of a tennis grip.
Exactly right.
And I'll never forget, he's talking to me, and I must have looked puzzled. I don't know, right? We always have this look. And I'll never forget, he said to Nancy, "Can you please tell him what I'm trying to say?" You tell him, you know how to hold a tennis racket, so tell him this. And that story I bring with me everywhere. And also, there's a beautiful picture of Jim giving Nancy a kiss, which got documented. It was amazing.
Jim was he had a dream in his life to be able to perform in Brazil, and it was just that incredible dream, and he always talked about that. So finally, with Vera, I said, Vera, how about we try and bring Jim? We're getting, of course, Sabian, which they always are, was so supportive to financially be a part of that to get Jim to Brazil. And look at the memories that Jim was able to produce in Brazil, and again representing Sabian and performing and teaching, and all of these stories and the intricate kind of stories that we have in our lives. And here you are now with all the traveling and touring that you're doing, all the recording you've done, all the different gigs and people that you've met. You really have put together this incredible life that now in Australia, you're just going to continue the process just from a different continent.
That's the aim. That's the aim. I've been back a couple of years, so it took me a year to figure out where I wanted to live. Yeah. So when I got here, I moved back with my parents, and anyway, a year later, Nancy and I bought a place, and finally, I'm set up and ready to go. Nice. But this whole last year has been obviously interrupted with COVID, and I don't know if you know this, Dom, but Victoria was really hard hit. Our state,
very much so. Yes.
Second wave. So since March, there's been nothing. Yeah. We're out of lockdown now. Only from a few weeks ago. So there's no live gigs. There was no nothing. Yeah. I was blessed in a way. It helped me finish my studio. I got it up and running. One thing if there's a positive out of this, Dom, it's that I think now people here in Melbourne and Australia are more welcome to an online lesson, if you know what I mean. It wasn't as big, it's not as big as what it is in the States, where even, I'll never forget, I'm in Sherman Oaks. I've got a student in Tarzana, which is next door, and still having an online lesson. Like that was, acceptable or whatever. It was the norm. But here, I think that's the one good thing that come out of it. And now what I do with my students is there's no cancellation policy. Yeah. Oh, you can't come to my house? I'll teach you online. Yeah. Which is fantastic from a business point of view.
This has opened up a whole new opportunity. So let's talk about the pandemic. And I know Victoria has been just hammered with what went down. And I think it's starting to ease up a little bit now. You have your summer months coming in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So hopefully it'll ease up a little bit more and start to get back to a little bit healthier momentum. But wearing masks and doing the entire distancing is all a part of what the world is going through.
Yes, correct.
In the lessons now, so you're doing online lessons from your studio at home.
Online lessons and physical lessons have come back.
So that's come back. So now in the physical lessons, when they come back, they're wearing a mask. How is that working out?
Yeah, you gotta wear a mask. You gotta have sanitizer. There it is, righty. You gotta have signs. You gotta be registered that it's COVID safe. So my room is 6 meters by 6 meters. I can only have 4 people here,
right,
at one time, and I'm part of the 4.
Right.
You just got to make sure. You got to make sure that you have. If a student comes here and they forget a mask, or don't have wipes, something like that, you got to have them ready for them.
Right.
And you can't share your sticks.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You wipe the stools. When one drummer finishes to the next student, but it's become like the new normal now. It's okay. You get used to it.
You get used to it, and it's working for you, and you're making it work, and we're able to survive teaching. I mean, I've been teaching online for probably 20 plus years, so it was nothing really changed that drastically for me. And I've got 4 cameras, 4 4K cameras, and I've got the mics and everything. So I always say, if we're trying to wait for the new normal, that may take a long time. What you've done, and which of course I've done, is we've designed a new normal.
Sure.
This is how we're going to do it, how we're going to make it happen, and it's going to work.
Dom, did you get more busier in a way because of COVID? Did your teaching pick up a little more?
I am not. It has not picked up a little bit more. It has picked up an incredibly amount more. I am teaching from 8 in the morning, sometimes until 8 at night, nonstop with students, the requested students, and doing master classes. So it's absolutely exploded. And now the advantages of what this has happened with COVID is I'm not driving an hour to the airport. I'm not having to get to the airport 3 hours before. I'm not flying a long distance over the oceans to get to where I have to go. I'm not dealing with time zone changes. I'm not dealing with language barrier, and I'm not dealing with sleeping in a different hotel every night. I'm in my own freaking bed every night. Yeah. This is like the second night in a row when I went and I got in my bed, I said, what hotel is this? Can I call the front desk to get some food? My wife said, get the hell out of there and go down to the kitchen yourself. So I had to learn some serious challenges in my life. I had to now go get my own food. Oh my God.
So, Dom, when COVID is over, what will change for you? Are you going to go back to what it was, or try to blend both?
I think I'm going to try and find that balance. I think what I've done now is, by doing certain master classes, I'm actually reaching probably more people now online than I was in person. People didn't want to attend to a lot of events, but yet now, in the confines of their own home, I'm getting much larger audiences. So I think the balance is going to be, if there's a festival that's happening, like Australian Ultimate Drummer Weekend, if that's going to happen and I'm invited to that, I will absolutely come to do that. So I can be in person for that. So I think larger events that are going to happen, I still want to attend to. But the world is in a shift, and people are now getting accustomed. Listen, in America, all the students are learning online. They're not even going to school. So the schools are collecting dust. So they're learning this way, and they're getting used to this way. And the quality of education is actually getting better, because now with the student in front of the computer, the parent is also there.
Correct.
Now having the parent involved with the lesson, the students are way more engaged and way more involved. So there's a higher level of learning going on. So we've got a shift that's happening. So I think we're all going to have to adapt to this world when it finally settles. And make whatever changes we can to find that balance.
It's exciting.
It really is. I got to ask you, Sabian. You've been with Sabian for several years. How did the whole Sabian thing come about?
It's your fault again, which is fantastic. So in '96, when you came here and I met you, you did the Drummers Day. I was endorsed by Zildjian. Great product. Everyone makes a great product. But when I wanted to have lessons with you, and I flew to America, and I had to wait a few weeks, I met Joe Bergamini. You told me, look, hook up with this kid. He's fantastic. He's one of my students, and who happened to live around the corner from where I was staying. I said, no problem. And I never forget, I went to Joe's house, his mum and dad's house back in the day, the basement there. And I walked past this kit, and it was Neil Peart's setup, right?
Absolutely.
And I look at this spaceship, and he had 1,000 cymbals on it, and I'm like, man, they look so nice. And then he had his student's drum kit, and then we started playing. I had a lesson off Joe. It was fantastic. When he started playing, I'm like, I like the sound of these cymbals. I just liked them straight away. And then Joe said, oh, you can play the other drum kit. Oh, no problem. I hop on the other drum kit. It was another Tama kit. And he had beautiful Sabian cymbals on that too. And I'm like, what are these? Your drum kit sounds great. This drum kit sounds great. I know the cymbals are different, and I didn't really know. And then once he told me a little bit about them, I'm like, you know what? I love the sound of this one, and this one. I liked all of them. So from there, I think one of you guys introduced me to Bobby Booze,
right.
At that time. And then through Bobby, I basically said, look, I love this product and I want to endorse it. And he said, well, get in contact with your Australian distributor, whatever, when you go back home and whatever, you have our blessings. And I said, fantastic. Back in the day here, it was Dynamic Music.
Right.
I forgot who was in charge. The name escapes me. But I never forget, I put my order in. And my order was every one of Joe Bergamini's bloody cymbal that he had. Every one of them. And I think I ordered about 15 cymbals. And to this day, I'm so grateful and thankful, because every gig that I've done since then, so it's been since 96 that I've officially been endorsed by Sabian, they've never let me down. I have not gone to any major gig and used another company's cymbal.
How fantastic.
When I moved to America, I didn't even bring my cymbals. Chris Stanky and everyone from there, I had so many pies waiting for me when I got. It was amazing. At one stage, I had so much gear and no gigs. Cymbals, but I love it. As a company, I would never move. I have no reason to. Amazing product, and the support is incredible. Well, and they're always they're innovative. They're always inventing things. I remember Mark Love. I spoke to Mark. I got my hands on a ride cymbal that apparently there's only 4 made, and I love the sound of it. And Chris said, "Look, you can take it, and if you want to work with Mark on, maybe, getting a certain sound that you hear, let's do it." It never happened because I love the cymbal. I don't know if I want anyone to touch it, but that's what Sabian offered from day one.
Yeah.
I felt like, and I still do, I feel that I get treated just as well as you there, and that whole family business is great. And just everything.
That's really how they are. They treat everyone the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a young local teacher or a top artist. That's just the standard of the family mentality that Sabian has. Sure. And look at the combination. They're great people. They make a great product, and they're open-minded to new ideas and not afraid to take a chance on going down a path with a cymbal idea that they're not exactly sure where they're going, but they go down there anyway.
High risk pays high rewards.
It really is that way. But I mean, it's amazing. And so now in the set that you have behind you, what cymbals do you have on that set behind you?
I have. I'm still a sucker for AAX.
Yeah.
I like them, but I got everything, kind of everything. I love my hand hammers, so I like going dark when I need to. I got some saturation crashes.
Yeah.
I still have the Volt, so I still got some Volt. I'm not sure if they make them no more. They changed the name, I think. Didn't they?
Yes, fantastic cymbal.
But double A's and double AXs, I use a mixture of anything now. So if, my basic setup will be a little darker these days. So I've gone with some hand hammers.
Yeah.
With always bright hi-hats. I don't know why, Dom. I can't play a hi-hat bigger or less than 14. And it's the same with my ride cymbal. I can't play anything bigger or smaller than a 20-inch.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me. I can't play a 21 or 22-inch ride. It just, I don't know. I can't express myself. It feels funny. But so I've always gone a bright hi-hat with some darkish colors. And then I got all the ozone symbols and
all the toys,
all the effect symbols. And now it's like if I do a session at the house, I listen to the song. If it requires a brighter symbol, I'll just change them over.
Yeah.
I rarely change my hat and my right cymbal.
Wow.
I really change it.
So, so you have enough product, and this is why I always say it's so important. There are so many sounds out there, like colors in a crayon box.
Yeah,
the more colors you have, the more you're going to be able to find out what feels good and what sounds good in that musical situation.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Back in the day, you know, when you're young and up and coming, and I always used to match. Well, if I'm doing a bright gig, then I want all bright colors.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing maybe a jazzy gig, and depending on the room, I want all dark. But no, it doesn't. If you want a bright cymbal crash and you want a dark hand hammered on the other side, do it.
Right.
Do it, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the blending of these sounds and colors, I think it's changed over the years. It's not as drastic as what it was. Maybe before it didn't match as much, but now they just seem to blend. And I know so many cats out there, including yourself, that you have a different variety of sounds and shade, and it works.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. It works.
Well, that's really the key aspect. But you know, you when you play, you've got such great control over the instrument. I want you to talk about your book. I know you have a copy there. Yeah. This Advanced Groove Concept. This really was about developing your weaker side on the drum set. Just talk about that, because I use this with the students and they love it and they feel the results quickly from the patterns and how you have it laid out. Just talk about how you laid the book out.
I'll quickly tell you where it came from first, right? So when we develop groove and we're learning how to create grooves, we normally start with, we go through like our layered groove patterns or our layered hand patterns, and then we play some linear grooves, obviously. But really, it's a mixture of those, isn't it? Yeah. You're either going to play notes that land together or notes that don't.
Yeah.
So based on that concept, as a right-hander, there's a lot of books that have all these right-hand variations, right?
Yeah.
I thought, and then some of the left hand will just be like a counter part of maybe your right hand, what the groove is, maybe fill in the gap. But I wanted something more than that, and it just when I was grooving, there's just something about it that felt a little empty at times. Yeah. At times, so this concept came about where I said to myself, I want the left hand kind of to, like, I guess it's called feathering, when in jazz terms you feather your bass drum, right? So it's almost like to have like this support bass down on your bottom groove, and accent where you feel like it, and have the independence to do that.
Right.
As far as what's the groove chord, they're all layered hand patterns.
Yeah.
It'll just be layered hand patterns, but it's based on having the independence to not lead with the left hand, but to really enhance the groove. That's the only way I can say it. And it starts off easy. Starts off with quarter notes, playing quarter notes underneath a groove with your right hand and right foot.
Right.
It goes to eighth notes, broken 16ths. The way it's laid out is incredible. You and Joe did an amazing job. I never forget the hardest part of this book, which has been out for a couple of years. Right? I want to make sure that everyone knows that. Yeah. But it was years and years in the making. Yeah. And we got it down. I don't know how you guys did it, but we got it down to 79 pages. The book I gave you and Joe Bergamini was 239 pages. And when Joe said, all right, give it to me in 70 pages, I didn't know how that was going to work. But look, it made it work. And the results from, students and fans from around the world has been incredible. This is what was missing, or this is great. I can enhance now my grooves in any genre. This is for any genre, really. How you apply it is, up to you. But I think you guys, with the way you laid it out, and because the non-accented note, instead of writing accents everywhere, I don't know if you. I want to quickly show this for the viewers.
Yeah.
What you guys have done is the non-accent there is you've written it smaller.
Absolutely.
And the accent is bigger, and it's just an easy read, and it's a beautiful layout. And it's endorsed by Dom and Joe, so it has to be.
Well, I think what's amazing about the book is first of all, the book works. I think what the first thing about it is when you take someone through it, results happen fast. They get it. And the easier way to be able to see it, I always said, a non-accented note, a ghost note, in the way many books were done, was the same size as an accented note, and it had parentheses around it.
Yeah, which is a really hard read.
So I said, let me get this right. A non-accented note is an equal size with more ink.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So, and that means play it softer. I didn't think that worked that well. So we went with a smaller note. And at the beginning, everyone said, no, that's not the way it's done. We didn't care, because we felt that to get your idea across, they needed to see visually the better idea of how the weaker side of how we play can be adapted to fill in those holes and be used in the course of a groove.
I 100% agree. And we have the old method, the rough drafts, and it was just too cluttered. It would not work. It would not work. So the layout that you guys did 100% makes a better read, but it really captured of what I wanted to go for, because you can visually see it. It's a smaller note. Play it softer. But it's a valued note, isn't it, Dom? So that's the difference. It's not just a ghost note that has no value and it's just filling in the gap. No, it has to have value. So that's why it's a solid dot, but smaller.
Yes, exactly right.
It works. It's fantastic.
But this is just hold the book up again, because I want everyone to see this here. The book is available, through Alpha Distribution and also through HudsonMusic.com. It's available digitally. So I would highly suggest that everyone pick up the book, because it's really going to open up your mind to a whole different idea of how grooves are played. And listen, this is out of the mind of Sam Aliano. This is years of experience that you've gone through and you played, and you play this way, and you just took what you experienced and learned and pushed yourself to learn. And then you, again, ran it through students. We went through it and analyzed it. We put it through the workhorse, and it came out really, really successful. So I want people to understand that what you have done, Sam, is really amazing. Listen, you play your tail off. You really play great, which is the first step of anyone earning a reputation. The second thing is you read well, and you're a top professional, that you show up on time, you handle yourself. Even this interview, we went back and forth with my internet challenge. You were right there. Bang, I sent the link. You were right on. That to me is a pro. That's really at a high level. And on top of that, you're a great guy with a great family, and you come from great heritage of all this incredible background. So you've got a full package together. And that's why I love doing these interviews, because I get a chance to introduce you to a whole nother level of people. And we've got people here, like I said, from all around the world. Check this out here. Here's Bruno Hughes, a wonderful drummer from Belgium. He lives in Antwerp, Belgium.
Fantastic.
He's with us right now. John Gill, who's a phenomenal player, upstate New York, where when they get snow, they get snow. John is all right. John's a phenomenal player and teacher. I mean, just all these different players that we have here. I mean, we have check this one out here. This is Victoria, who's a phenomenal female player in Kiev, Ukraine, and she's joining us now. So you've attracted people from all around the world to listen to your message, and this is huge. Last comment now. What would you say to this next generation, Sam? Here you are, you've got incredible experience, you've made the move to America, back to Australia. What would you say to this next generation in preparation on how they can follow their dream?
Well, you said it. If you can dream it, do it. It's simple. I don't think it should be as difficult as what sometimes it's made out.
Yeah.
Dream it, draw it, do it. But be the best you can be before you move. So if you want to study hard before you go abroad, do that.
Yeah.
But always be a student of the craft. You're always going to be open to learning. Be a sponge, as we all know. But at the end of the day, you've got to be professional in all aspects. You just do. And I believe, and I don't want this to sound negative, you get one chance to stuff up.
Yeah.
And that's one chance too much.
Yeah.
So just don't go there. But then embrace everything, all your life challenges, what it brings you, because it's the experiences, hopefully the good ones way outweigh, some of the harder challenges that may arise. But if you believe in yourself, you got to do it. You just do it.
I think, Sam, that well said, and you are a great example of that in the fact of how you've prepared yourself and you've raised the bar up to a higher level, and now you bring all of us up to that next level. We all have to lift to that next level and push ourselves as far as we can go. But again, as I said, the balance between your playing, how you handle your business, and your wonderful family. You did it well. You really, really did it well.
Thank you, mate. And we're still working on it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. On behalf of Sabian, I want to thank everybody at Sabian for allowing us this opportunity to come by. And even though I'm in the mayor's office right now because the internet connection was really good, I came in and I said to the mayor, hey, listen, any chance you can go take a little break right now? So I threw her out of her office. This was worthwhile for sure in the process. But I think the journey of it is that Sabian allows us to do this. It's great. Joe Bergamini, who manages the Sabian Education Network program, allows us to do this here. So thank you, everybody. But Sam, thank you so much to yourself. Please thank your family and stay well. And now, if you can, go have some breakfast.
I will. I'm going to get the kids ready for school. But look, listen, thank you obviously on a personal level. And also from a drumming point of view, you're an inspiration. Thank you to Sabian. Joe Bergamini, and we've been part of this family now for almost 30 years, and it's only going to get better and keep growing. So what Sabian is doing with these education program, I encourage teachers to get on board, sign up. It's a great forum, and as teachers talking about material that they're giving students, or maybe some obstacles that they may have during their teaching lessons and stuff like that, but just keep doing what you're doing because the world is good, mate.
Sam, thank you so much. Safe travel, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll touch base soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Dom. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.